हेलो। दिख नहीं रहा है सर। हेलो, एम आई ऑडिबल? देखिए आवाज़ आ रहा है कि नहीं मेरा? हेलो। अ, आप सभी को मेरी आवाज़ आ रही है? सर वो स्क्रीन ठीक कर दीजिए तो। स्क्रीन ठीक कर दीजिए। वेरी गुड इवनिंग टू एवरीवन। आपको मेरी आवाज़ पहुंच रही है? प्लीज़ कंफर्म करिए सो दैट वी कैन स्टार्ट अवर डिस्कशन। गुड इवनिंग। गुड इवनिंग सौरभ। मुझे ठीक है। तो धीरे धीरे लोग जुड़ रहे हैं एंड आई बिलीव कि सब धीरे धीरे जुड़ जाएंगे। कैसे हैं आप लोग? कैसा लगा एग्ज़ाम देके आप सभी को? आपकी एक्सपेक्टेशंस के अकॉर्डिंगली एग्ज़ाम आया या नहीं? नहीं नहीं, क्लास 9 को नहीं पढ़ा रहे हैं राम कुमार। ये पीजी का ये पीजी का क्लासेस है और हम क्वेश्चन रिव्यू करने जा रहे हैं। ये क्लास 9 का क्लास नहीं है बाबू। हाँ, ओके। सो स्टार्ट करते हैं। अराउंड 28-29 लोग हमारे साथ में हैं आई बिलीव। सो पहले तो आप सभी को कॉन्ग्रेचुलेशंस कि एटलीस्ट यू आर डन विथ योर एग्ज़ाम, राइट? It doesn't matter how it went and what were the questions and everything. For now, for last the upcoming 10 days, you'll find that you'll be in a very better place. You'll be able to enjoy, you'll be able to you know uh, do things which you really want to do. From last 5-6 months, you all were doing so many things, graduation work, and then so many things going on in life, and but you're giving everything of your own in your paper, right? Some of you, and as I've mentioned multiple times, for now, that there are so many things that you need to cover, so it will never happen that you'll get 75 out of 75, right? We can only guess what we want to do with the question paper, what kind of questions that they can ask, and and we can learn from other papers that we have, and we can guess accordingly. Now the question paper that you had, I have received around 40-50 questions that you remember, and we'll be discussing them shortly. And I got to know that some of you who have covered so many things based on last year's question paper were disappointed because it was a very easy question, the basic questions that they have asked. Obviously there are few things that are again very different, because you are English literature student and they're asking you questions about Hindi literature, and within Hindi literature obviously from you can expect questions from the works, but if they'll ask you questions about the chronology of Hindi literary writers, then obviously it is very disappointing. But more or less we'll see, it is a better paper basically from last year's point of view, and we'll try to see how many questions you have done and what are the level of these questions. I'll not take much of your time. I know some of you are also traveling back to your home. I had other reservations after some time, so I thought let's discuss few questions. Those of you who will not be able to join this live can watch this live later, right? So let's start with your interpretation as well. Whatever question comes to your mind, please put it in the chat box so that we can take that question and we can work on that. Okay, so as far as I have few questions, last day we were talking about awards, and there is one thing that all of us were very sure that they are definitely going to ask questions from Nobel. And you remember one thing, even in the paid course classes as well, we were thinking about how we can approach to these awards. So many. There is Nobel, there is Booker, there is Gyanpith, there is Sahitya Academy, and then there are new awards as well. So you have received questions from Nobel Awards, right? 2 to 3 questions from Nobel Prize. The first, for example, the first woman to be awarded Nobel Prize in Literature in English, basically. Then you have questions from Sahitya Academy Award as well, and one question from Gyanpith as well, right? So the award, as expected, there were around 2 3 questions from award as we were expecting. And basically, I know it is very difficult to say whether if the questions that you find, if they are easy one, then just a second, just a second. इरेज कैसे करना है? मैं इरेज पे क्लिक कर रहा हूँ, फंस रहा है. अच्छा, ओके ओके ओके. Okay. Yes. So if you see, the kind of questions that you have received from British literature, will start from there. So if they ask you question about negative capability, right? They're asking you question about negative capability. They're asking you questions about the definition of poetry by Wordsworth, right? By Wordsworth. The Gothic writer Mary Shelley. A very basic question from University Wits. Very basic question from poems by Nizam Ezekiel. Last year too there was question from there only, right? Certain poems and their definition, their writer. Then Partition, again very basic novels from Partition. We started this year series by differentiating between two very important movements, modernism and postmodernism, and how they are different to each other, right? And the question that they have asked was based on characteristics, as all of you have shared with me as well. Question from the characteristics of modernism and postmodernism. I remember yesterday we were talking about certain movements. Kitchen sink was one of them. So they have asked about kitchen sink dramas, and that too in matching, right? And if you see, some of you have also shared with me that there was Look Back in Anger. Okay. Okay, no question from Sahitya Academy, but yes, from Nobel and from Booker, right? From Nobel Award and from Booker Award, as well as from Gyanpith Award. I misunderstood, not from Sahitya Academy, but from Nobel Award, Booker Award, and from Gyanpith Award, right? Now, you see the question that they have asked from kitchen sink drama. Someone has shared with me that even if you are aware about one text from that particular question, right? Be it chicken soup with barley, or not whisker, bond, or even you're aware about one important text, then you'll be able to guess that. And then chronology of ages. Now this is one such question which related to age, as well as related to certain writers and movements as well, right? So when you cover those movements in chronology, or when you cover British literature in particular with chronology, it is again a very basic question that they have asked, right? Literary events we were talking about, and one question was from the Age of Darkness. War of Roses was mentioned there, right? Nationality of Indian English writers, like for example Jhumpa Lahiri, how she's settled in Britain, for example, R.K. Narayan from India, those kind of questions, right? Nationality of Indian diasporic and general writers. There was one question based on that. And then there was question from heroic couplet and blank verse, and then obviously figure of speech. कल पेड क्लास में हमने फिगर ऑफ स्पीच के ऊपर कई सारे इंट्रीज एम एच इब्राहिम से पढ़े थे. आई एम नॉट श्योर, मतलब मुझे पता नहीं है कि फिगर ऑफ स्पीच से आपके एग्जाम में क्या क्वेश्चन आया है, पर let me know whether that part was helpful to all of you or not, so that we can work on that as well. Okay, and then yes, genres and their definition, again, right, a question that we were anticipating, along with certain terms in matching, right, poetical terms in matching. Yes, one again very one question. कई बार हमने बोला कि क्या होता है कि एक क्वेश्चन जो रिपीटेडली आता है और आपके एग्जाम में फिर से आया, क्या वो क्वेश्चन फिर से किसी राइम सीम से आया? कोई एक्सप्लेन कर सकता है कि किस राइम सीम से आया होगा वो क्वेश्चन? यस, लिरिक, ओड, एलिजी, सोनेट कि उनका जो टाइप्स ऑफ पोइट्री का क्लास हमने किया था, पोइट्री की डिफिनीशंस का मैचिंग, राइट, पोइट्री डिफिनीशंस का मैचिंग, राइट. यस, ओथेलो, हैमलेट की मूवीज. ओथेलो, हैमलेट की मूवीज के ऊपर क्वेश्चन, राइट. अगेन पेन नेम राइटर्स के, दैट टू वाज इजी, राइट. पेन नेम के ऊपर क्वेश्चन. पाणिनि का अष्टाध्यायी, इंडियन एस्थेटिक्स. मैंने एक मैसेज देखा कि इट वाज मोर ऑफ एन हिंदी लिटरेचर एग्जाम देन ऑफ English literature. I'll come to that part as well. I'm just trying to find out one thing. I'm comparing last year's question paper with this year's question paper, just to understand the level of questions asked from English literature. I'm not concerned with Hindi literature writings for now. I'll come to that as well. Okay, so yes, so that was there. Then you can probably there were so many questions from literary criticism as well, like hamartia, mythos, right, tragic hero characteristics. So tragic hero, according to Aristotle, I believe, right, so not an ordinary person but a noble person, and based on based on him. Then yes, yesterday we talked about Isaac Asimov, right, and we talked about him in as speculative fiction as well. तो ये क्वेश्चन आपके एग्जाम में आया related to sci-fi writings, sci-fi literature का, right. yes, then वेद व्यास के ऊपर, वेद का कंपाइलर कौन है, right, who compiled Vedas, who compiled Vedas. And then there was one question from Amar Jeeban as well, right, the first female autobiography from India. Amar Jeeban. right? uh, Existentialism. एग्जिस्टेंशियलिज्म से क्वेश्चन मिला आपको, करेक्टरिस्टिक्स पे प्रोबेबली, इंडियन राइटर्स की क्रोनोलॉजी पे। कोई बता सकता है इंडियन राइटर्स की क्रोनोलॉजी के ऊपर कौन सा क्वेश्चन था? क्या जो हम लोग कल डिस्कस कर रहे थे सरोजनी नायडू के ऊपर लेके, कि अगर आपको पता है कि सरोजनी नायडू फर्स्ट है तो हो सकता है, क्या कुछ ऐसा आपको मिला? पेट्रार्कन, शेक्सपियर, मिल्टन, स्पेंसरियन वैरायटी, यस एग्जैक्टली। यस एंड देन, यस, क्रोनोलॉजी। तो कल हम देख रहे थे कि कैसे प्रेमचंद विक्टोरियन है, राइट? और बात अगर आपसे क्वेश्चन पूछा जाए प्रेमचंद्र, अमृता प्रीतम, ऐसे राइटर्स को क्रोनोलॉजी में लगाने का, तो ये सब राइटर्स, आपने देखा था कि अमृता प्रीतम वाज द फर्स्ट साहित्य अकेडमी राइटर, राइट? तो लिस्ट कहाँ से स्टार्ट होती है वो देखना था। फेयर गेस होता है प्रेमचंद कैसे विक्टोरियन टाइम फ्रेम में, जब हम फॉलन वुमेन नैरेटिव्स को देखते हैं तब उनको हम देखते हैं, तो वहां से क्वेश्चंस, राइट? एक तो इनलाइटनमेंट से कुछ अराउंड 2 to 3 क्वेश्चंस आपको मिले हैं। एक क्वेश्चन जो देकार्त से आया आपको, फादर ऑफ फिलोसफी, मॉडर्न फिलोसफी, आई थिंक देकार्त से क्वेश्चन आपके एग्जाम में आया है। ब्लैंक वर्स और हीरोइक कपलेट की डिफिनीशन आई है। और कलकत्ता क्रोमोसोम, कई बार इस नॉवल पे हम गए हैं जब हम अमिताभ घोष की बात कर रहे थे, और यहां से भी कोई क्वेश्चन आया है। कोई कमेंट सेक्शन में बता सकता है कि एग्जैक्टली क्या क्वेश्चन आया है कलकत्ता क्रोमोसोम से? यस, इंडियन राइटर्स की बर्थ डेट से। यस, यस, कल हम डिस्कस कर रहे थे अपने, आई थिंक पेड कोर्स की क्लास में डिस्कस किए थे या यूट्यूब पे डिस्कस कर रहे थे, मुझे याद नहीं है, पर कॉमेडी ऑफ ह्यूमर्स, ब्लैक बाइल, येलो बाइल, कौन किस चीज को रिप्रेजेंट करता है, देयर वाज वन क्वेश्चन सिमिलर टू दैट एज वेल, राइट? एंड देन there was one question from eco criticism, uh, and that too probably based on characteristics of eco criticism, right? Yes, and then famous lines from Shakespeare, the Jack's speech, right? A quote from Hamlet. There was one question from the first work of Salman Rushdie. क्रोनोलॉजी हमने देखी थी सलमान रश्दी में, राइट? देन यस, यूनिवर्सिटी विट्स हो गया। यस, तो ये 35 क्वेश्चंस जो हम अभी देख रहे हैं, ये तो वो क्वेश्चंस है जो शायद बहुत लोगों को यू नो बहुत लोगों के सही हुए होंगे। तो अगर आपको 40 क्वेश्चंस एग्जाम में इजी मिल जा रहे हैं, और पैसेज का लेवल भी जहाँ तक मुझे पता चला कि इतना डिफिकल्ट नहीं था, तो मैं तो पहले ये पूछना चाहूँगा आपको कि अगर आपको पेपर इजी लगता है तो ये अच्छी बात है या खराब बात है? Other than obviously there were few questions which does not make any sense to you. For example, last year they have asked about Hindi literature. So we covered so many writers in Hindi literature. But as an English literature student, no one will ask you to go through the chronological order of Hindi literary writers. It doesn't make any sense to you, right? It doesn't make sense to anyone here. There is no point of reading Jaisankar Prasad in detail, right? You must know, yes, obviously last year a question aaya, so you must know few things about these writers, right? Bhakti, for example, there was question from Bhakti literature, right? So so you have so many ages within, yes, Kabir and others, right? So you have so many ages within English literature, and it makes no sense. Okay, there was one question from transcendentalism as well. Immerse, what was the exact question, Garima? Was it related to Emerson, Fuller, and Thoreau, or you have to find out the names, or whether it was difficult or easy one, right? So these kind of questions when they ask, okay, I believe there was question from Kalidas, right? We have covered because comparative literature was part of our syllabus. So we were talking about Kalidas in detail as well. We talked about certain works as well. One which is very famous. We have covered the story of that particular work as well. But now, if they ask you about about certain characters in Kalidas, and you have to find out whether which of the following is not a character in Kalidas, that is very difficult. Very difficult in the sense that it is not expected from you as an Hindi literature student, English literature student, to go through all works of Kalidas. One that is used by many writers, including the writers of comparative literature, to uh, compare it with other texts. I remember we read a paper based on the comparison of Kalidas text with with Oedipus Rex. So that makes sense. We can do that. But if they give you 4 female characters and you have to find out which 2 were there, then obviously it is very difficult. Okay, Thoreau, Pound, Emerson, Eliot. Then it was very easy, right? A very easy question from transcendentalism. And you see, it is a school in, again, in American literature. American romanticism, we were talking about it yesterday only. American romanticism and American literature was not a part of your syllabus. It's not a part of your syllabus, right? But they have asked question from there as well. Someone has mentioned about existentialism, the characteristics of existentialism, right? We already mentioned that particular question as well. So basically, I just want to know what was the level of the comprehension. Okay. So someone is saying it was not difficult because you can derive answer based on the title of Kalidas works. Okay. So if it is the case, then okay. But do you understand the point that I'm trying to suggest here? That if you're a student of English literature, why to ask question from Hindi literature text or other literary text from in detail, right? You can ask questions. Certainly, Indian literariness, as we talked about it. So Indian literature comes, all these literature are also part of it. But to ask questions in chronology does not make any sense, right? The voice and lovely figure of, yes, figure of speech, easy one, I guess. Very easy comprehension, no critical thinking required. Okay, then I think it's a good thing, because comprehension is something that those who are not good with language, they they face certain issues with comprehension. So if the comprehension was not that much difficult, then it is good for those who are who face difficulty in language. Okay, so these are certain questions. Now my point is, one thing that I would like to ask from all of you. I'm not referring to the fact that it was an out of the box question. I'm only adding nuance. Yeah, I get that. I get that. I get that. And it is not out of the box question as well. Last year we have seen that they are going to enter in regional literature as well. There was one question from Tamil literature as well, for example. Right, enlightenment we have seen one question from Descartes, and probably one more question from enlightenment which we have not received yet. We have seen that there are 3 questions, 2 to 3 questions from there, but the exact question is not with me at the moment, right? So you see, there were questions from literary criticism, and if you compare questions based from last year, काफी extra questions literary criticism से मिले, beginning from Aristotle, right? There was a question from Aristotle, there was a question from William Wordsworth, there was a question from uh, Keats, right? And if you can think of, there will be two or three more questions that you can locate, right? Similarly, there were questions from movements as well, as expected. So you found around 4 to 5 questions from different literary movements as well, and that too, they're very easy. But one thing that I am also worried, and I am also expecting you to respond to, there are so many literary theories that are part of your syllabus, beginning from feminism to Marxism to psychoanalysis to structuralism, post-structuralism, new criticism, formalism. 8 very prominent literary theoretical frameworks which are part of your syllabus. I have received what to say, message from around 100 people. No one has mentioned any work from these writers, any work. So that is very, I don't know how to respond to that. Okay, then utilitarianism, Mill and Bentham. Uh, yes, empiricism, Locke and Kant, and Descartes, father of modern philosophy. Okay, so that question was in matching. They're not separate question. It is one question where they have asked one question from eco criticism, and I believe, as I have received questions from you, no question from Marxism so far, no question from feminism, no question from structuralism, no question from post structuralism, right? No question from psychoanalysis, which they introduced last year, although it is not a part of your syllabus. No questions from archetypes, right? Panini and others, that means Indian aesthetics was a major portion where they have asked certain questions. So few easy one as well, one or two easy questions, but one or two difficult as well, because they have entered in works, right? And okay, so there was one question from not a single year based question asked. Prometheus bound, invitation minority, subjection of women. Was it in matching? Was it in matching? The question based on subjection of women? Yes, there was one question from Dayanand Saraswati as well. Okay, we don't know the question at the moment, but as mentioned by others, there was one question from Dayanand Saraswati as well. Right? And you see, uh, okay, the genre question. Uh, they forgot that there is something like literary theory while making the paper, I guess. Okay, so yes, non-fiction genre, that is an easy one, right? So you see, out of these 75 questions that you had, around 40 questions from mainstream, which was not there in the last year question paper. So you all asked for it, and now they are asking questions from mainstream writers like John Keats, William Wordsworth, Shakespeare, Marlowe, university wits, comedy of humors. This is what they thought, that now we can change the pattern and we can ask questions from there, so that you know maybe you'll get some questions. Was there any question from Indian English drama? I'm just curious about the fact, because last year there were so many questions from Indian English drama, so all of a sudden Indian English drama became a very important topic last year. Was there any question from Indian English drama? Yes, almost nothing from translation and comparative literature. Okay, so yesterday we talked about we have not discussed translation studies and comparative literature yesterday. So I thought, I was regretting the fact that I didn't get time to discuss translation studies and comparative literature, but it was for good, right? Because there was no question from there, no question from Indian English drama as well. right? So think about it. And no question from chronology as well, right? You expect your English literature students, so you expect chronology from Indian English writers, right? From British literature, from Indian literature, you expect that they'll ask question from chronology. If they're going to ask very hard questions, you need to remember first work, last work of the major writers, but no question from there, right? No question from there as well. So so yes, so this is the case with paper. When we'll receive a complete paper within few days, that too is not so far, right? So कुछ दिन बाद हमको कुछ क्वेश्चन पेपर मिल जाएंगे और हम उनको सॉल्व कर लेंगे. और सबके इस बार around, as I can guess, last year topper was around 55 questions. That was the topper, I believe. 225, 55 और 56 क्वेश्चंस लास्ट ईयर का टॉपर था. सो आई बिलीव आप सब ने यहाँ तक तो आप पहुँच गए होंगे. 50-55 के पास तो आप सब पहुँच गए होंगे. लास्ट ईयर के टॉपर तक सब पहुँच गए होंगे, राइट? एज फार एज आई कैन थिंक ऑफ. यस 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 अजमत, आई नो. यस, पाणिनि अष्टाध्यायी, राइट? सो लास्ट ईयर के टॉपर के 56 क्वेश्चन सही थे. इतना आउट ऑफ द बॉक्स क्वेश्चन लग रहा था इतना. और वो भी आउट ऑफ द बॉक्स लग रहा था बेस्ड ऑन इंडियन English literature primarily. So I believe that was a very satisfying paper in the context that that certainly it was our fault, right? Because that was a difficult paper. uh, Around 10 or 15 questions were from out of the topic, from out of the course, but still it was literary, right, in many contexts. And I hope ki if you all have done what you say, comprehension right, then you'll get very good marks in this paper, right? But one thing that is that is problematic, and that makes me sad as well, that they should have asked few questions from literary theory and other things, for which you all are preparing for 6 months. One thing that that I'm sure that those of you who started preparing 1 or 2 months back, 1 or 2 months back, you'll be in the same position who was preparing for 6 months. No difference. No difference at all. Probably one or two, 1 or 2 questions which were based on what you say, uh, understanding. For example, there is one question that I think Saloni has shared with me related to the concept of tragic hero. So at that moment, your understanding is important. Your understanding is important, then only you'll be able to solve. But very fair, a very simple type of a question in that context. And believe me, friends, it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing to have this kind of a paper where you can easily solve 40-45 questions. That means 60% question you can easily solve. So if you can do that, without even thinking about what to say, speculative fiction, translation studies, the author and what to say, author and translator duo, the remembering the years. I remember there is one question from Nobel Award, I think, that they have asked 1983. Saloni has mentioned about it. 1983 William Golding Award, and it was in matching, I think, right? Matching. I am guessing, as far as it was matching. So yes, uh, and so as Saloni is saying, even the options were not confusing. So one option out of these four, you'll be able to solve it. And we tried our best to at least make it difficult to that level that at least 2 or 3 you must know, so that you will be able to solve that question. We were trying to do that, right? So it is up to you to decide whether this is a good thing or not. For me, certainly it is not, right? For me, certainly it is not, because your cutoff is going to be very high now, very high. At least this is the last year mark is certainly going to rise for at least 10 questions, right? At least 10 question, I'm saying. So the topper will be there around 65, 66. That will be the the timings, or you can get more than that as well if you are good in Hindi, right? So that is problematic, right? So we'll talk about it Later, when we'll obviously have question paper with us, then we'll have a better idea. uh, yes, right. So I'm little bit disappointed by the fact that that you all guys were working from last 5 to 6 months. Anyone who will be preparing for 1 or 2 months will be able to solve exact as many questions as you can. 2 3 questions, and probably we'll see that these questions will make any difference in your uh, in your marking or not. But I wish you all the very best. And I believe I remember last year's question paper. There were so many students. They were very, very, sad, and they were thinking about, whether they what they should be doing or not. So this year certainly that is not the case. You'll have a good. I remember you'll have a very good sleep now. Take break, enjoy for some time, because it was a long journey. You probably, some of you started from September until it is March, right? So take a break, have fun, enjoy. You're getting good marks. You'll get into DU, JNU, BHU for sure. I believe all of my students were there from last 6 months. You are disappointed obviously because we worked so much, but this is not going to wane, because you'll have to appear for net examination within 3 4 months. So, and that will not be this much this easy for sure. So the background, the base that you have built in last 5 to 6 months, I hope you'll build on it. This is surely a last video from my side here. Those of you who are preparing for masters, I'll meet you again here on the same platform, solving the question paper, when all of you will share with me. But yes, for the preparation part, we are done. I hope last days live that we took for 4 to 5 years, 4 to 5 hours, helped you in so many ways, right? And I'm thankful that we didn't come across any question from translation studies yesterday, because it would have been a waste of time. But yes, please take a break now, and second attempt I was preparing from last year only. Okay. So you are frustrated because why you are? I just want to know why you are frustrated. If you exclude those 10 questions, I just want to know what is the reason of your frustration. If whether it was very easy, the literature part was easy, that is why you are frustrated, or you are concerned about those 10 questions which they have asked from nowhere. Trust me, the kind of Hindi literature that we covered in our classes. Saloni mentioned about 2 questions which she solved it based on the reasoning, right? So she knew that which writer can come first, which character can come later, based on the idea that she had with our classes, right? So this is one such thing, that where your memory helps, where your reasoning helps, where your own parameters, that if you are you can think of how we were talking about fallen women, and there was a Munshi Premchand, for example, right? So so you recall, okay, that was Victorian, and then you remember that Amrita Pritam was one of the first one to be awarded with Sahitya Academy, and that started in 20th century. Based on this kind of reasoning, you can solve few questions. So if you can do that in few questions, and as someone has mentioned, Kalidas question was easy as well for some of you. So if you can solve few questions from there, and then basic easy question paper from here, then I think you should not be bothered about this paper, especially the paper that you had today. It was easy, and I am thinking the people who did not study much might also score. So देखो, I'll tell you very honestly, this is something that you should always carry with you. The knowledge that you have taken from here or from anywhere, from anywhere, from any YouTube platform, or from any book that you have read, from any person that you have met on the road and he said something, it is going to be with you. And there are many other exams that are coming, you know within 2 months, you'll get admission here within 2 months. So now you'll have a time to rest. You can take rest for some time, you can wait for your exam, feel anxious or anything that you taking a break or do whatever you want to do. But within 2 months you'll have another pressure. And and based on this question paper, obviously you are going to get a good university, any central university. So wherever you'll go, you'll find your life will start from zero again. So you'll have to prepare your and that is based on my personal experience. I'm telling you, it may sound very boring, but within 2 months you'll feel that you'll again be on this on that particular place. You'll again be doing your assignments and then preparing for masters. And trust me, for net, trust me, when you'll sit back and when you'll think about these 4 5 months, the way you have prepared, the things that you have touched, the areas that you are aware of, it is surely going to help you in your net examination, right? So it's just right the corner, it is not going to be anywhere. So whatever you have read, even if you're not going for net examination, that is certainly going to help you in your life as well. That is why we read literature at first place, right? So don't worry about that. Cutoff is surely going to be very high. Yes, uh, very high in the sense last year the topper had 56. So you can add 10 questions, the topper will be around 65, around 65. Okay, so based on that, 60, 58, 60 for JNU. I can't say anything for now, and this is very early to talk about the cutoff, to be very honest. I just have a questions areas for the for the memory based questions. Once I'll have a question paper, I'll come again in front of you, I'll solve the complete question paper here on our YouTube platform only. Then in that particular session we will talk about the cutoff from different universities. For now, take a break. For God's sake, you have worked so much hard, at least 1 or 2 days take break, and then do whatever you want to do. uh, don't be anxious, enjoy your life. We'll meet within 15-20 days for our paper solving. So are we eligible to sit for net even in the first year of masters? Yes, you are eligible to sit in the net examination within the first semester of your masters. The moment you are enrolled, you are eligible for the net examination. Okay, yes, it was not that much easy. Yeah, that you'll realize later. What I want to say, that the literature part was easy, English literature part was easy. So you'll surely, if you're around 50, think about yourself that you're certainly going to be in a good university. Okay, so I guess I should stop here, right? I'll not be boring you for now. Have fun, take care, and we'll meet in some time and we'll continue from here only. Okay, take care, bye bye.